3 a.m. panic call exposes incredible truth, how I discovered my cheating wife's amazing secret. It was pitch black outside when Tom's phone shattered the silence of their cozy family home. The sound was so startling that it felt like lightning striking just inches away. He jolted upright, heart racing, eyes darting towards the clock. 3 a.m. Fear gripped him. Was it one of the kids? Tom threw on his jacket, adrenaline flooding his veins as he raced through the dim hallways. The familiar rumble of thunder roared like a beast, but it was Angela's frantic voice on the line that sent chills up his spine. As he burst into the garage, a sliver of light revealed Angela, her eyes shimmering with tears that nearly spilled over like the rain hammering against the roof. In her hands were stacks of papers and colorful boxes filled with crafts, bits of fabric, glitter, and dreams. "Tom," she whispered, her voice cracking, "I've been unfaithful." The world felt like it was collapsing. Betrayal coughed up a storm within him, intertwining anger with disbelief. "What do you mean?" Tom could barely get the words out as they hung heavy in the air. This wasn't about another man, it was worse. Angela had been sneaking around to build a secret online business to uplift local women, showcasing their handmade goods. There was no affair, instead, there was a passion that had slipped past him unnoticed. Tom stepped back, grappling with the weight of shattered dreams and the iciness of hesitance. He wanted to shout, to scream, to express the mounting confusion twisting inside him like a pretzel. How could she? How could she hide this from him? As neighbors whispered about the cracks in their perfect suburban life, he felt the unsettling truth seep into their foundation. Was bond and loyalty just a facade? That evening, Tom confronted Angela, rage crashing against a wall of hurt. He couldn't understand her drive or her desire to uplift others. He just saw the betrayal. Eyes downcast, he avoided looking at her. The vulnerability between them felt like a chasm. Yet the more he pushed her away, the more the warmth seemed to fade. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into a blur as Tom no longer felt like himself. The state's tension lingered like low-hanging fog in their neighborhood as whispers turned to judgment. But a week later, he decided to step outside of his anger. At a local community event, he watched Angela nervously present her creations, words pouring out of her with passion. As he observed her glowing with pride and determination, something shifted inside him. It was impossible to ignore the fire of inspiration she ignited in those local women. Could he possibly respect the woman he loved? But an avalanche of silent questions loomed in his heart. Could he forgive her? Could love blossom in the ashes of betrayal? As the crowd erupted into applause, Tom felt hope flicker amidst the darkness. Yet in the echoes of celebration, he was left to confront the most daunting prospect of all: rebuilding the trust that had been fractured. Would he fight for their family or be haunted forever by shadows of betrayal? The sun rose slowly, casting a soft golden glow across the kitchen counter where Tom sat. The coffee maker gurgled in the background, a familiar sound that used to fill him with comfort. Today, it simply felt like noise. He stared at the untouched mug of coffee, the steam curling into the air like the unresolved feelings swirling in his mind. He should have been angry. That was the expected reaction, right? But the more he thought about last week's revelation, the more he grappled with a storm of emotions: confusion, resentment, but also a flicker of something deeper. Angela was chasing her dreams. She had a vision, and it indirectly spotlighted the obstacles in their own life. The events of the community fair echoed as he replayed Angela's smiles and the joy on her face. She had been so alive, so vibrant, it was as if he was meeting her for the first time. But that spark didn't negate the feelings of betrayal. Just as easily as he felt drawn to her passion, He felt the shadow of distrust lingering in the corners of his heart. Tom's fingers tightened around the coffee mug, dark liquid sloshing against the ceramic rim. How could he feel both proud of her and so utterly defeated? Their family, once a fortress of love and unity, now lay vulnerable, a patchwork of frayed edges and hidden truths. He leaned back and closed his eyes, breathing deep to settle the tempest inside him. "I need to talk to her," he whispered to the empty kitchen. Confrontation loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Was he ready for more revelations? Picking up his phone, he scrolled through his messages. He hesitated, heart pounding as thoughts raced through his mind. What would he say? "Hey, let us meet up and discuss everything." It felt too simple, almost dismissive. Yet burying the truth wouldn't heal the wounds either. Minutes later, he found himself standing outside the local cafe where they had shared countless dates. Angela often spent her afternoons working at a corner table, surrounded by her creations. A sense of longing washed over him as he stepped inside, the familiar bell chiming. She sat there, head bent low as she sketched plans for her next project. Her fingers moved deftly, but he noticed the slight tremor. Tom's breath caught. She looked so focused yet so fragile. Did she know he was there? Did she feel the energy of change looming between them? "Hey, can we talk?" The words slipped out before he could second-guess himself. She looked up, surprise sweeping over her features, followed quickly by uncertainty. "Of course. Is everything okay?" Angela's voice held a tinge of worry that made Tom's heart ache. That he nodded, but deep down, he felt the weight of unanswered questions pressing down. Unraveled thoughts threatened to spill out, and he had no idea where to begin. As they settled into the intimate corner of the cafe, her eyes searched his, pleading for understanding. He opened his mouth, ready to voice his fears and frustrations, but instead, he found himself stating the truth he had discovered about their relationship. "It's not just about the business, Angela. It's about us. About trust." As he articulated his feelings, every word began to weave a narrative built on vulnerability, hope, and the idea that maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what felt irreparably broken. But as the conversation deepened, he could feel the tension bubble beneath the surface. Would it break free like a winter thaw, or would it be met with walls too high to scale? Angela bit her lip, a mixture of fear and longing flickering in her eyes. "Tom, I've been waiting for you to say this. There is something else I need you to know." His heart raced. What could she possibly say that would change everything once more? "Angela, please," Tom urged, leaning forward. The cafe, once filled with the hum of conversations and the rich aroma of brewed coffee, faded to a background buzz. His world narrowed down to the two of them, heartbeats ticking louder than the clock on the wall. "What I'm about to share, it changes everything, Tom," she said, her voice trembling as she reached for his hand. He felt a jolt of electricity shoot through him at her touch, a stark contrast to the icy uncertainty swirling in his gut. He needed clarity, not more shadows. "Just tell me," he insisted, squeezing her hand lightly but firmly, emphasizing the connection they still had. "Whatever it is, I'm ready." Angela took a deep breath, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I didn't want to tell you this during the fair. That moment felt so perfect. I didn't want to ruin it. But I've been working on a project, Tom. A big one. It's about my art, but it's also about us." Tom's heart raced. He wanted to believe it was all for them, but the nagging doubt clung like a heavy fog. "What do you mean?" "I've been collaborating with someone," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a new venture, a gallery opening. But it's with Sean." His stomach dropped at the mention of Sean's name. A man from her past who had always lingered like a ghost between them. Why him? Why not tell me before? It was supposed to be just business. "I promise." "When I realized how much it would mean for my career, I thought I could handle it without involving you. But it's been eating at me, eating at you. It sounds like you're hiding something deeper. Are you still seeing him?" She looked away, tears spilling over, catching the light. No. Tom, I swear. It's business. But he knows how to network and promote art. He's brilliant. And I thought you thought what? That I wouldn't understand. That I wouldn't be there for you. Yes. In some way, I thought you'd be proud. I wanted to break through, to show you what I could do. I wanted you to see me not just as a mom or a partner, but as an artist. She wiped her tears, but they just streamed down her cheeks. Tom felt something in his chest crack as he took in her desperation. Angela, please, she interrupted, just know I'm still choosing us. The gallery is important to me, yes, but not if it means losing you. The tension between them shifted, uncertainty still lingering, but now mixed heavily with honesty. He was struck by the vulnerability she was offering. Could he salvage his anger and see the light in her intentions? Have you thought about what this gallery means for us? He asked, voice softer now but still heavy with concern. It could change everything. I know, she replied, her voice rising with emotion. It could be the change we both need. But I need you to trust me, Tom. I can't do this without you. The ache in Tom's heart began to dull, replaced with a flicker of hope. They could navigate this together, but the shadows still lingered. Would trust return in the absence of reason? As the weight of their conversation settled in the air, he could see it in her eyes, the fear, the longing, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Then let us make a plan, he said, the hint of determination sparking within him. Let us figure this out together. Angela breathed a sigh of relief, a small smile creeping onto her lips. Just then, the door swung open, and a gust of wind blew in, carrying the sounds of the bustling street outside. But amidst that moment of clarity, Tom's phone buzzed silently in his pocket. Ignoring it, he grabbed Angela's hands, feeling warmth radiate through their joined fingers. Promise me, no more secrets, he said, looking deep into her eyes. I promise, she replied softly, barely above a whisper, but there's still so much more to reveal. His heart sank as he lifted his phone, glancing at the screen. The name flickered there, a name he hadn't seen in years. What could this possibly mean? Tom's heart raced as he stared at the screen. The name lit up like a beacon of dread. Claire. His mind spun with thoughts he had tried to bury deep. Claire was Angela's college friend, someone who had been part of their lives during a time when they were just figuring it all out. Why was she reaching out now? He glanced at Angela, who was still wiping the remnants of tears from her cheeks, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. Who is it? She asked softly, her voice breaking the spell of tension that filled the air. Claire, he managed to say, but the name felt heavy in his mouth. She hasn't called in years, Angela. Angela's eyes widened. What could she want? I don't know, he replied, his fingers hovering over the screen. Anxiety twisted in his gut. She could be checking in, or it might have to do with something else. Should you answer? It could be important, Angela suggested, though worry clouded her expression. Tom took a deep breath. He felt torn. He wanted to prioritize his conversation with Angela, but the uncertainty of Claire's intentions gnawed at him. What if it's something bad? He said. What if it could change everything again? Or it could clear the air, Angela countered. You said you wanted honesty. Maybe it's time to face whatever is out there. That small flicker of hope, the one that pushed him to make a plan, urged him forward. He felt compelled to reach out, searching for clarity rather than letting fear drive him back into silence. With a shaking hand, he tapped the screen to return the call. His heart thundered in his chest as the phone rang. Each beep pulsed with memories of a time long past, when things had been simple and carefree. But deep down, he felt there was an answer waiting just beyond the call. Tom. Is that you? Claire's voice came through, bright but tinged with urgency. Yeah, it's been a long time, he replied, mentally bracing himself. I know it feels like forever, she said, the nerves creeping through her tone. Listen, I didn't want to reach out like this, but I need to talk to you about Angela. His heart froze. Angela's eyes shot to him, the unease reflected back at him. About her? What do you mean? Promise me you'll hear me out. It's important. The conviction in her voice sent alarm bells ringing in Tom's mind. Something big was coming. He felt Angela squeeze his hand tighter, sharing the moment of anxiety. What is it, Claire? He pressed, determination overloading the trepidation building within him. There's much more been going on than she's told you. It could change everything for you too, Claire said, her voice lowering to a whisper that felt conspiratorial. The walls of the cafe began to fade around him, everything blurring except for Angela's troubled expression. Tom. What's happening? She whispered, fear threading through her words. I don't know, he admitted, unable to tear his eyes away from Angela. But I think we're about to find out. The nerves danced wildly in his stomach as Claire continued to speak. Her words tumbled forth, each bringing new complexity to the situation he thought was already tangled beyond repair. Tom, I know this sounds insane, Claire urged, but Angela's been working on something significant, something that could put you both in danger if it gets out. The word danger threw him off balance, rooting him in the moment as his mind raced. Was this about Sean? Or something deeper? Danger? Tom echoed, his pulse pounding, meeting Angela's wide eyes. Yes. But you have to believe me, I didn't want to come in the middle of this, but I'm so worried about her. His mind spun even faster as fear and concern began to gel into something more. The weight of the unknown stretched heavy between them. Promise me you'll listen to what I have to say. It's a secret that could shift everything, Claire insisted, and it felt like a hook, reeling him closer to a deeper truth. Tom's heart raced with conflicting emotions. How could he unravel this with Angela sitting right beside him, her own secret still lingering in the air? As the cogs of his mind whirled with anxiety, he locked eyes with Angela, both of them suspended in uncertainty. Tell me, he urged Claire, feeling the grip of destiny pulling them closer to a revelation that might define everything they knew. What could be lurking in the shadows? And would they have the strength to confront it together? Tom felt his world tilt on its axis. Claire's words hung heavy in the air, each syllable a nail driving deeper into his chest. His gaze darted from the phone to Angela, whose expression had shifted from curiosity to a mixture of fear and disbelief. Angela, is there something you haven't told me? He ventured, pain lacing his voice. No. I swear, I haven't kept secrets from you, Angela stammered, her voice rising slightly. At least, not about anything important. The weight of her response struck him. It wasn't the denial he had hoped for, but a vague reassurance that left the door wide open for doubt. Claire's assertion loomed between them like a storm cloud, darkening their moment. Then what could this be about? He asked, his heart doing somersaults. Tom, listen. There things that have happened before we got together, things I left behind, Angela said tremulously. Like what? His tone transformed, desperation creeping in. Is this about your past? I thought we moved past it. I thought we were okay. I thought we were too, she murmured, tears pooling again in her eyes. The tension gripped him tight, shaking his resolve. Claire interjected, her impatience creeping into her voice. Can you both please just listen to me? You're not in this alone, but you need to understand what could be coming. Tom's breath hitched as he felt Angela's hand tremble in his. The once warm cafe atmosphere felt cold and unwelcoming, echoing with an unsettling silence that betrayed their fears. A couple nearby glanced their way, sensing the emotional turmoil, but they quickly turned back to their own conversations, oblivious to the tornado swirling around this small table. Okay, Claire. What do you know? He urged, bracing for her answer. It's about a project Angela was part of in school, Claire began. It started as an innocent research paper, but it spiraled into something bigger. There are people who want the results and they're not just interested in academic value. Results? What results? Tom pressed, confusion tangling with unease. Angela had information that could expose certain entities, powerful ones. She thought keeping it secret would protect you both. But the closer she gets to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. Dangerous how? He asked, glancing at Angela, whose face had paled. They won't just let this die. If they find out, they won't hesitate to silence anyone involved, Claire said, voice firm and urgent, as if she could sense the closing walls. Tom felt the room closing in. Angela, is this what you've been working on? I didn't think it mattered, Angela cried out, shaking her head slowly. It felt like my past, something I could leave behind, but maybe it didn't stay behind. Reality began to dawn on him. The stakes weren't just floating whispers in the air, they were tangible, dangerous truths that could tear at the fabric of their lives. So what now? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. I'll help you both. But first, you need to decide if you can trust me, Claire said. The cafe faded even more. Tom felt the gravity of their choices weigh down on them. If they chose to expose these secrets, what could this mean for their future? Can we even trust each other? Angela asked, tears glistening in her eyes. Then what do we do from here? Tom questioned, feeling the divide between them both widen and shrink at the same time. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the truth they would uncover might bring them together or tear them apart. Suddenly, Tom's phone buzzed again, a notification lighting up the screen. A message from an unknown number: you've been warned. Stay away from what you don't understand. Fear seized him again, tighter this time. How deep did this rabbit hole go? Would they dare to plunge in? Tom's heart raced as he stared at the message. Goosebumps prickled on his arms. The weight of its warning felt like an iron anchor, dragging him into icy waters. He shot a glance at Angela, who seemed frozen in the moment, her eyes wide, reflecting the same combination of fear and confusion swirling inside him. Who could that be? Angela's voice was barely above a whisper, tinged with panic. I don't know, Tom said, trying to soothe the tremor in his voice. But his mind was racing. Could it be someone from Angela's past? Could those powerful ones Claire spoke of be behind this? We need to act fast, Claire urged with urgency, glancing around the cafe as if the walls had ears. They could be watching us already. We can't stay here. Where do we even go? Angela asked, biting her lip, her usually strong demeanor crumbling under pressure. Tom took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. What if we go to my place? It's safe there for now. Claire nodded, her expression serious. We should get moving then. Grab your things. We can figure this out. Angela hesitated, swallowing hard as if trying to dispel the immediate tension. I didn't want to drag you into this, too late for that, Tom interrupted, frustration creeping into his voice. You're already in. We're in this together. It was a promise veiled in desperation. Anger and loyalty wrestled within him as the fear began to thicken in his throat. As they hurriedly gathered their coats and bags, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had just taken a sharp, unexpected turn into darkness. Outside, the night air was chilly, biting against his skin and making him feel more alive than ever. Every sound around him felt amplified as if the world had sharpened. A distant siren wailed, adding to his anxiety. They made their way to the car in silence. Tom settled into the driver's seat, Angela next to him, while Claire took the back. The three of them were crammed in a space that felt too small for the weight of their secrets. As the engine roared to life, Tom sent another nervous glance at Angela. You okay? I don't know, she breathed, shaking her head. I keep thinking I could have done things differently. If I had just told you earlier. Stop, he said firmly. This isn't your fault. It's not too late for us. But deep down, he could feel the cracks forming, reality cutting into the surface of their relationship. As they drove through the darkened streets, Tom's mind raced with the possible ramifications of what was to come. The message haunted him, a constant reminder that they weren't alone in this fight. Whoever sent that text wasn't he going to back off easily. They had to dig deeper. What if we went to the library? Angela suggested suddenly. I might still have some old files from my research there. Maybe there is something that ties into this. Claire chimed in, her voice steady and authoritative. That's a smart idea. We can start piecing things together, find out who might be after you. First, we have to figure out what information we're really dealing with. As they pulled into the library parking lot, Tom felt the rising tide of anxiety shift slightly. This could be the turning point, the moment where everything changed. They stepped into the library, a hushed stillness greeting them like an unwelcome guest. The faint smell of aged paper and wood permeated the air as they ascended to the second floor where Angela's old research materials were archived. With the shadows stretching around them, Tom sensed that this was only the calm before the storm. A flicker from a corner caught his eye. Something instinctive twisted in his gut. He turned sharply, a figure slipped behind a row of bookshelves. The feeling of being watched rushed back into his veins, pure adrenaline igniting every nerve ending. Did you see that? Claire whispered urgently, her eyes widening. Yeah, Tom replied, his voice low yet steady. We need to find that file quickly. But as they moved deeper into the stacks, a disturbing realization dawned on him, this was no longer just about secrets. It was about survival. Could they really face whatever was lurking in the shadows? His heart thundered louder as they continued their search, each step echoing like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. With every minute that passed, the question loomed large: what awaited them in the dark corners of those shelves, and would they be ready to face it? Tom led the way, each footfall heavy with tension as close whispers of panic swirled in the air. Every creak of the wooden floor beneath them seemed louder than a shout. The shadows stretched and twisted around the bookshelves, hiding unseen threats behind their dusty facades. His heart pounded in rhythm with each cautious step, a morbid countdown to an uncharted confrontation. Angela hugged her arms tightly to her chest, her eyes darting to every movement, every fleeting shadow. Tom, she began, her voice quivering. What if they're here for me? What if this is all my fault? No, Tom insisted, hoping his conviction would settle her nerves. You didn't ask for this. We'll figure it out. Right, she said, but doubt flickered across her face like the weak beam of an old flashlight, struggling against the darkness. Claire moved past them, her determination palpable. Let us focus. Your files, Angela. Where are they? We need to find them fast and get out of here. Over there, Angela gestured towards a dimly lit corridor flanked by bookshelves. Tom felt a surge of urgency spark within him, igniting the resolve to protect them at all cost. They slipped into the corridor, each glance over their shoulders revealing the eerie void behind them. As they neared a nearby stack, the flicker from earlier danced again at the edge of Tom's vision. Panic pulled at his insides. He turned abruptly, scanning the aisle. It was empty. Just the heavy silence hung like an oppressive shroud. Did you see it again? Claire whispered, her breath quickening. Nothing, Tom said tightly, a sense of dread pooling in his gut. Let us hurry, Angela urged, her voice almost lost in the stillness. It should be just ahead. They pressed on, their breaths quickening as they reached the designated shelf. Angela pulled at a hefty book, the dust clinging to its spine like secrets long buried. As she flipped it open, the pages crackled under her fingertips. In the dim light, Tom leaned over her shoulder, searching for the hidden truths that might save them. What are we looking for again? He murmured, feeling the weight of expectation looming. Anything, dates, names, anything that could connect to my past, Angela replied, biting her lip as she skimmed hastily through the pages. Claire kept scanning the aisles, her body tense, every shadow making her flinch. The silence grew thicker and an unsettling feeling coiled in Tom's chest. Suddenly, Angela gasped, her eyes wide as she held up a yellowing sheet of paper. Here. This connects me to the powerful ones. Look at this. Tom leaned in closer, his breath hitching in his throat. There, in faded ink, lay a list of names he realized were connected to whispered tales of power and treachery. A history he never knew existed. The realization hit him with the force of a runaway train. Angela wasn't just a victim, she had been part of something enormous, something dangerous. That's all the evidence. Claire exclaimed, excitement mingled with trepidation. We have to keep this safe. But just then, the sharp sound of footsteps echoing in the library cut through the air. The calming quiet collapsed into chaos as three dark figures materialized at the end of the corridor, blocking their escape. No! Tom shouted instinctively, adrenaline flooding his veins. Get behind me! Yet Angela stepped forward, defiance flaring in her eyes. No, this is my fight too. We face this together. The figures moved closer, and Tom felt the tension swelling, an unrelenting pressure closing in. What had they stirred from the shadows? Were these the very powerful ones they had feared? With every heartbeat echoing in his ears, Tom realized their fate hung in the balance. Would they stand united, or would Angela's past shatter their fragile hope? The question hovered like a dark cloud. Just how far would they be willing to go to uncover the truth, and would they still emerge whole from the storm? The figures stepped into the faint light, and Tom's stomach twisted. Each one was cloaked in dark attire, their faces obscured by shadow. Angela's breath hitched beside him, a silent reminder of the stakes at play. Angela Ramirez, one of the figures called, his voice smooth yet menacing. You've meddled long enough. Hand over what you found, and you won't get hurt. Tom's instincts kicked in. He could feel the weight of the moment. We're not giving you anything. He shouted, his stance protective as he squared his shoulders. Not your decision, the same figure shot back, stepping forward, revealing a face that favored authority and arrogance alike. Tom held his ground, pushing against the rising tide of fear, willing to shield Angela with every ounce of his being. No, you don't understand. Angela stepped closer, her voice trembling faintly but maintaining a fierce edge. This information belongs to me. It's not a bargaining chip. The figure raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her defiance. You think your past gives you any power? You're only a pawn in a much larger game. Tom could see the struggle within Angela. This was hers to face, but could she handle the weight of what lay ahead? Don't listen to them, he urged. They're trying to scare you. Maybe I want to be scared, she replied, eyes blazing, the resolve beginning to surface. Maybe facing this is the only way to be free. The remaining figures shifted, creating a perimeter that seemed to close in tighter. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, as palpable as the dust motes dancing in the dim light. Think carefully, the first figure said, his tone lowering as he stepped closer, eyes narrowing. You have no idea what you're up against. Then tell me, Angela snapped back, anger flaring, hers igniting courage deep within Tom. For too long, I've run. It's time to stand firm. The dark figures exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering momentarily across their stoic expressions. For a brief instant, Tom felt a flicker of hope. You don't know the games we play, one of the figures growled. You're in over your head, girl. I'm not afraid, she declared, stepping forward with unexpected bravery. Tom's heart pounded in response, a fierce mixture of admiration and dread. The figure tilted his head, curiosity piqued. Determination's a brave face, but it won't protect you from the truth. We're not just gonna walk away. Suddenly, the air seemed to shift, charged with electricity. In that case, Claire interjected, stepping up behind them, we'll expose you for what you really are. Tom blinked in surprise. Had Claire truly just put herself on the line like that? A palpable silence spread between the two parties, tension vibrating like a plucked string. The figures looked at one another again, their earlier bravado wavering. "Is that so?" The first figure sneered, a playful glint sparking in his eyes. "Then maybe we can play a different game. One where the stakes are even higher." Tom felt the weight of his racing heart. Each beat echoed louder than the last. The walls felt like they were closing in, and just as he thought they had nowhere left to run, a sudden crash sent echoes reverberating through the library. "What was that?" Angela gasped, her eyes widening. "It doesn't matter." Tom insisted, his voice sharper than steel. "We need to make a choice right now, stay and fight or find another way out." At that instant, when every heartbeat mattered, Tom realized that courage might be their only ally, and time was slipping away. Would they face the shadows head-on, or would this moment lead to the trap they all feared? The decision hung in the air, heavy and unresolved, like the silence before a thunderstorm. Would they seize their moment? And as the question echoed in his mind, the library door creaked open, revealing the darkness beyond, an invitation for both danger and opportunity. The door swung wide, the creaking echoing down the empty hall. A gust of wind flowed into the library, ruffling the pages of the books left open on the tables. Tom's heart raced as he felt the heavy weight of the moment settle around him like a cloak. "Go," he urged, his eyes darting between Angela, Claire, and the ominous figures still blocking their path. There was an unspoken urgency filling the air. They had to decide, and fast. Angela turned her gaze to the darkened doorway, where the shadows shifted and melded, forming into indistinct shapes. "We can't just run. We have to confront this." Tom shook his head, desperation creeping into his voice. "No, Angela. We need to get out. We can regroup, think this through." "They think they can scare us into submission," she shot back, determination lighting her features. "But if we run, they win." At that moment, another crash resonated from outside, and panic seized Tom's stomach once more. What if that was backup for them? He asked breathlessly, fear clawing at his resolve. Claire stepped closer to the dark figures, her fear giving way to boldness. "You're just threats in the dark. Show us what you've got." The figure in front laughed, a cold, chilling sound that echoed ominously. "Oh, you have no clue what you're inviting into this room. It's amusing, really." Tom felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He looked at Angela and Claire, both so brave in their own unique ways. "Look, maybe fighting is the answer, but not right now. We need an advantage or at least some distance." Suddenly, a disruptive noise filled the air, almost like a whisper, but it clawed its way into Tom's ears. He turned toward the open doorway. Dark figures slinked in the background, but as he squinted into the encroaching gloom, he spotted a silhouette that made his pulse quicken. "Tom!" The figure shouted, a voice laced with urgency. It was Greg, their mutual friend, holding a flashlight that doubled as a weapon against the darkness. "I knew I'd find you here. We gotta go. I know a way out." The tension in Tom's chest unclenched slightly. "How did you doesn't matter? Trust me." Greg called, his breath hitching. "These guys are bad news. They don't play fair, and we don't know what else they've got up their sleeves." The first figure clenched his hands into fists, his patience thinning. "Why don't you come a little closer, Greg? You might like what we have in store." Tom's instinct screamed to protect his friends, yet a longing for safety buzzed to life. "We can't give them control," he shouted, locking eyes with Angela, who was rooted to the spot in fear but steeled by purpose. "Angela, they're playing mind games. We can outsmart them if we work together." The dark figures took a step forward, sensing the shift in dynamics. But Greg's voice rose above the din. "I can clear a path. Everyone to me." In an instant, the fog of fear began to part. With a determined nod, Tom grabbed Angela's wrist. "We're getting out of here, together." But as they moved toward the door, a thunderous noise erupted. The library trembled, the shelves rattling, books cascading to the floor. Among the chaos, lights flickered ominously. Something bad was coming. Angela staggered. "What is happening?" "I don't know, but we have to move now," Tom urged, pulling her along. But just then, the first figure unleashed a laugh that sent shivers down Tom's spine. "You think you can escape? It's just begun." In that heartbeat, they were faced with both the looming threat of the cloaked figures and an unyielding determination to break free. Would they dare to face the storm head-on, or would time run out before they could grasp their chance? As they dashed for freedom, the darkness closed in. And amid the chaos, one thought reverberated through Tom's mind: was this the end of their fight, or would it only lead to something even darker lurking ahead? With a flash of adrenaline, Tom led Angela and Claire toward the doorway as chaos erupted around them. The looming shadows of the cloaked figures pressed in, but he wouldn't let fear dictate their fate. "Go, go, go!" he yelled, urging them forward, leaving the oppressive weight of the library behind. The moment they burst through the door, the cold air greeted them like a kiss of life. Outside, the night was alive with distant city sounds and the uncertainty of the unknown. Tom could feel Angela's hand gripping his tightly, and Claire's resolve echoed behind him. But they weren't free yet. "Greg, where to?" Tom barked, his eyes scanning the dimly lit alley. They ducked behind a trash dumpster, hearts racing, breaths heavy in the still air. Greg's determination shone through the darkness, his eyes fierce and pleading. "Just a few blocks down. We need to blend in, then make our way to the old mill. They can't track us there." Greg glanced back at the entryway as if preparing for an ambush. "Are they close?" Angela whispered, her voice barely above the pounding of Tom's heart. "Not yet, but we don't have much time," Greg replied, adrenaline spiking. The group burst from their hiding spot, running toward salvation. They dashed down dimly lit streets, each step laced with both urgency and fear. Behind them, Tom could hear the ominous echo of footsteps. The shadows were in pursuit. "You've got to trust me," Greg urged, weaving through the back alleys. "This way." Angela's breaths were shallow, but in the glimmer of moonlight, her determination sparked anew. "I want to let them take us," she gasped, while Tom's heart swelled at her newfound strength, a transformation born in the heat of crisis. They rounded a corner, and suddenly the old mill loomed ahead, a majestic structure with peeling paint and the memory of better days. "I can't believe we're really doing this," Tom murmured, the fear still knotting his insides but mingling with a flicker of hope. "We're going to take a stand." As they burst into the dim interior of the mill, the air vibrated with history and silence long forgotten. Dust particles danced in the small beams of light filtering through the broken windows. Tom felt a surge ignite within him, a pulse that sparked courage. He turned to face Angela and Claire, their faces painted with determination, each stealing strength from the moment. "Angela, we need to confront this together. We can't allow them to dictate our lives anymore," Tom said, conviction in his voice. Angela nodded, her resolve clear in her eyes. "Whatever comes next, I'm in. I want to hide. Not anymore." And just like that, something shifted, an unspoken bond forged in fire, binding them together. They would face the truth together, no matter the consequences. Outside, the figures were gathering, shadows speaking in hushed voices, their intentions clear. It was time for confrontation. Greg quickly found an industrial layout of the mill, lights flickering. "We have to show them the evidence, expose them. The more chaos we create, the less power they have." "Right, let us lay it all out on the table," Tom said, fear morphing into power. "Are you ready for this?" Angela questioned, locking eyes with Tom, the vulnerability surfacing for just a heartbeat before it transformed into fierce determination. "More than ever," Tom replied, feeling the pulse of bravery amplifying in every corner of his body. With confidence, he led the charge, moving toward the large open expanse of the mill, evidence in hand. It was time to confront their past and expose the dark forces that had been manipulating their lives. As they stepped into the open, the cloaked figures stood before them, a wall of intimidation waiting. Yet this time, Tom held the evidence with pride instead of fear. "We know who you are and what you've done," he proclaimed, voice steady and unyielding. The figures exchanged glances, the tension electric in the air. "You think you can expose us?" One of them laughed, but the mirth didn't reach their eyes. "Yes," Angela asserted, stepping forward with newfound strength. "We'll show you the power of the truth. This isn't just about our lives anymore. It's about all the lives you've ruined." The figures shifted, their facade of power now wavering. Tom took a deep breath, feeling the momentum of unity, purpose, and strength surge through him. In a unified voice, they declared their truth audibly, letting their voices drown out the darkness. They detailed everything: the business, the secrets, the dangers. And with each revelation, something within that intimidating facade of the figures seemed to retreat. The shadows began to falter, and with it, the grip around their lives loosened like the chains of a once strong prison. Each word they proclaimed was a step into the light, a reclamation of their stories arching over the obscurity thrust upon them, and just when Tom thought they had turned the tide, a silence settled over the mill. The figures hesitated, uncertainty flashing across their faces. "You may have won this battle," the lead figure hissed, "but we will not rest until you pay for meddling in forces beyond your understanding." "Then come at us," Greg challenged, his raw bravery cutting through the tension. "This is a war we'll fight on our terms." Tom felt a wave of exhilaration wash over him, unity binding their collective stand. "Together!" Angela shouted, fire in her eyes. As Tom looked around at the faces of the people he loved and respected, he understood now: the shadows could try to overpower them, but in the face of unwavering truth and persistent love, the light would always break through, and so, with a final flicker of strength, courage carried them forward, not just as fighters against the darkness, but as a family ready to embrace whatever came next with their heads held high. The journey to uncovering the truth had lit a fierce blaze in their hearts, transforming each of them into something undeniably stronger. In those final glimmers of confrontation, they realized, they were no longer just surviving the darkness, they were rewriting their story in bold, vibrant strokes of destiny, transforming fear into hope, shadows into light, and doubt into unwavering strength. They had fought battles alone, but now they would forge ahead, together. Now that you have witnessed this amazing transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't wait one more second to hit that notification bell for exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and keep this incredible content coming. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Your voice matters. And share this video instantly with 5 friends who need to see this transformation. The time to stand together is now. Remember, true fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.